I'll be your therapist today. My name's Sheridan.
Hi, Sheridan.
Hi. Alright, so let's start off and kind of talk about what's been on your mind today. Like, what have you come in to talk about, like a certain issue in your life, a conflict?
Yeah, I am. I'm feeling conflicted these days. I'm having a hard time sort of coming to completion. I've been in school for the last 6 years, and I'm going for an equine science degree. And 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to follow my passion, and I feel like this is my passion, and I'm having a problem with being able to come to completion, get the degree, and then start working within my field of study.
Alright, it kind of sounds like you've been working towards this for like a really, really long time, and now that you're kind of coming to an end, you're trying to figure out those last final steps, and you're having a little trouble kind of getting to where like you imagined yourself to be, maybe?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Can you describe kind of what this feeling, you said being stuck is? And like when it comes out?
I can. The feeling of being stuck, there are 2 more processes that I have to go through in order to become certified in my field of study, which will be therapeutic riding instruction.
Okay.
I have to take a test. I've already taken all the workshops and.
Is this through school?
Yes, through
Okay.
school, and then an independent certification after school. So I actually still have 15 credits left on my undergraduate degree, and of which that's a different story, but it's this final certification that I could actually start to work and start to actually make a living at this dream of mine. And I can't seem to untangle my personal life to drive it forward.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about, before we kind of delve into maybe like the barriers you're feeling in your personal life, tell me a little bit about, what you like about what you're doing. Tell me a little bit what you're doing.
Okay.
What drove you to it?
Okay.
What do you love about it?
I have always been in love with horses from the time I was a little girl. Merry-go-rounds were the first horses that I remember. And all through my childhood, horses were central. And up until about the time I went off to college, and then I had to have one form of horsepower or another, and I chose a car because I needed to get back and forth. And so my horse and I parted ways, and I knew that eventually I'd come back to it. And I had children many years after that, and I thought, well, I'll get back into it through my children. And I did, and I was hoping that I'd have equestrians. I was hoping that my kids would follow suit, but I really came to realize that it was more my dream than their dream. So luckily I did realize that, and I didn't force it on them. But then I had a life-altering about 6 or 7 years ago, had a divorce, and all of a sudden was thrown back into, I was forced to make choices about what I was going to be doing with the rest of my life. And when I married and had a family, my emphasis was on the family. It wasn't really on me. And all of a sudden, I remember thinking for many years that I didn't have a passion. And I saw all people around me seemingly having a passion, people who were working outside the home. And so I sort of went back to my roots, and I started delving around, and I realized that it was horses that had always been driving. I always sort of did go back to horses. I never left them. I just never owned my own horse. And so I had this opportunity to go to school, and the local college in my hometown, I noticed offered an equine science degree, and I thought, this is it. It was like, I was thunderstruck when...
I was about to say, thunderbolt, yeah.
When I realized that this could be my path, I just went for it. And I was lucky enough to do that. to be able to go back to school. I didn't do it full-time, did it part-time, that's why it's taken so long, because I still had a busy household, and raising kids, and, you know, I just couldn't do it all. So, part-timing it for about 4 or 5 years, and then my kids were off to school, and I was able to go full-time, but I still had 15 more, I think I have 15 more credits to go, and I sort of stopped it. But I think it was because I started becoming more actively involved in my profession. I started teaching, and I wasn't teaching teaching horseback riding.
Okay.
And I went down that way for a while, and then other doors opened to me. I didn't want to necessarily teach able-bodied riders. I thought that I should, you know, go down the path of the therapeutic instruction. So again, Thunderbolt kind of struck me, and I thought, okay, I can do this, and I found an organization called PATH that is, I can't think of the anagram for it, but it's a therapeutic horsemanship certification, and I started collecting my hours for internships, and I needed some student teaching hours, and I got to the end of that, took a workshop, and now all that's left for me to actually have my certification is for me to take an exam.
Okay.
And I should have done it in the fall, and I can't just bring myself to do it. My personal life keeps getting in the way, and I'd like to be able to, I want to have it all. I want to have a personal life, and I want to have a professional life. And I'm just having a hard time figuring that out.
Interesting. It's kind of interesting because I'm noticing as you're kind of talking about this and you're explaining the path and you're explaining the steps that you've taken to it, you have this clear path that you've marked out in the way you're talking about it. And then when you start to talk about those, that feeling of being stuck and of not being able to complete it, you start to kind of almost trip up on your words a little bit. I don't know if it's, or try to find the next thing to say. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it reflects kind of how you're feeling about that. But I guess the more
So am I
thing,
tripping? I'm tripping at the obstacle?
I don't know if that's what I was going for exactly. It's just that there's this pause almost in the way that you talk about it that reflects the way I feel like that you're describing it to me.
Right.
And but I guess the one thing that I was going to ask you about was why don't you think you can do it all?
I have always thought I could do it all, and now because I'm kind of bumped up against this, and I think it's because I have probably put more of a timeline on it and more of a deadline. It feels to me as if I have a deadline, and so as I get closer to that deadline, that's where I feel like I'm so blocked. Okay, can I do it? Can I do it? And can I do all this other stuff as well? So, I think maybe I'm trying to, this deadline feels like it's looming to me, and that I don't know what that's about, but,
When you say looming, you mean
like I'm having, as this process goes along, of course I'm not getting any younger, and, I feel like I should be out there right now making a living. Or if not making a living, really following my passion and having a chance for it. But then I have the conflicting point is my personal life, while it allows for a lot of opportunity and equine opportunity for me, being around horses, but actually getting right down to it, having a business of my own, I'm not quite sure how that all is going to fit in.
Okay. Okay, so let's kind of delve into some of those barriers that, not so much barriers, but those two separate lives kind of coming together. Tell me a little bit